Welcome to the introduction for this course on becoming a more strategic business analyst in the era of AI. There's four main reasons why I wanted to create and share this course. First, I wanted to share my learnings having initially struggled as an analyst, almost getting fired despite frequently working late and feeling burnt out, before I adjusted how I spent my time and was able to get promoted 3 times in 3 years on the strength of my deliverables as an analyst and eventually product manager. Second, I've worked with many analysts who seem to struggle with similar issues and have also observed what types of things distinguish more successful analysts from less successful ones. Third, there's a fair amount of market concern that LLMs are going to automate analyst jobs, though as I'll explain, LLMs are accelerating and augmenting analysts' natural trajectories more than they are changing anything outright. Finally, having worked as an AI product manager over the last 5 years on both traditional machine learning and generative AI, I have developed a strong sense of what AI can and can't do by itself, and how analysts can use it to improve their performance. And yes, using LLMs effectively is part of being a strong analyst. However, it's just one part of a much broader whole. So to start, why have some analysts struggled and why are people concerned with LLMs taking analyst jobs? Well, there are a handful of fundamental reasons why. First of all, entry-level and other junior analysts typically lack domain expertise, so it takes at least 1 to 2 years for them to onboard so they can better understand the industry and company, which makes it difficult to perform more analytically intensive or insightful work. Second, many analysts have historically focused on reactively performing one-off tasks that, while helpful, are not analytically intensive or insightful. In other words, completing those tasks is perceived as not adding enough value to the company. Third, historically, once they've been onboarded and have a few years' experience, many analysts try to get a better job elsewhere, particularly in a hot market, which has created some concerns with hiring inexperienced analysts, given the risk of not realizing ROI on the investment it takes to train them. And finally, there's perception that a more experienced analyst or other domain expert can use an LLM or large language model to perform the junior level person's role more easily and cost effectively. So net of these considerations, some companies are increasingly incentivized to use LLMs to complete the same reactive or junior level tasks without investing in hiring and onboarding. While this practice hasn't been adopted by all companies, it is an increasingly common one, particularly at large companies with many employees. That said, the good news is that there are a range of practices that analysts can apply to their work to significantly increase both the value they add to the company and the timeline on which they add it. In other words, an analyst can become a strategic asset to the company, and in doing so, avoid having their job being perceived as something that can be done by LLMs. In addition, my experience has been that strong analysts will outperform an LLM, while a strong analyst effectively using an LLM to augment their work will be best of all. So with that, this course is organized into 4 main sections, each of which are in turn broken down into modules. The 4 sections are 1. Understanding the problem, 2. Research and analysis, 3. Solution design and crafting deliverables, and 4. Measuring outcomes. Each section contains practical exercises and templates that can be used to apply the principles to specific situations analysts commonly encounter. To reiterate that point, this isn't a theory course. It's meant to be a step-by-step walkthrough of techniques that worked for me and other analysts while addressing common mistakes or limitations of other approaches. The principles are important, but working through the exercises is ultimately what will reinforce the concepts and help you become a stronger, more strategic analyst. So with that, let's jump into the first section.